Američki predsednik Donald Trump završio je zvaničnu posjetu u Kini, a sa kineskim liderom Sijem Đinpingom dogovorio je plan odnosa dvaju zemalja za naredne 3 godine. Razgovaram s kolegom novinarom Shenom Shiweijem o detaljima upravo sastanaka Trump-Xi. Premijer Keir Starmer suočava se sa sve jačim pritiskom unutar laborističke stranke nakon katastrofalnih rezultata na lokalnim i regionalnim izborima. Dodatni udarac stigao je ostavkom ministra zdravstva Vesa Stritinga, koji se smatra čak i mogućim kandidatom za preuzimanje cijele stranke. A nastavljen je rat u Ukrajini. Broj ubijenih u masovnom ruskom napadu dronovima i raketama na Kijev porastao je na 24 ove sedmice. Među ubijenima je i 3 djece, saopćile su to ukrajinske vlasti. A najmanje 100 osoba, uključujući i 2 liječnika, ubijeno je u izraelskim napadima na Liban. Samo ove sedmice javljaju to Ujedinjene nacije. Izraelski parlament usvojio izricanje smrtne kazne za palestinske zatvorenike, a Franceschi Albanese ukinute sankcije koje su joj nametnule Sjedinjene Američke Države. Stižu nam i nove fotografije planete Mars. Svemirska letjelica Psyche i Spacecraft uspješno je prošla pored Marsa na udaljenosti od svega 4500 km, šaljući prema Zemlji spektakularne nove fotografije crvene planete. Ja sam Mika Ferrer-Gotić. Ovo je Puls planete. Američki predsednik Donald Trump završio je zvaničnu posjetu Kini, a sa kineskim liderom Sijem Đinpingom dogovorio je plan odnosu dvaju zemalja za naredne 3 godine. Xi je poručio da je srž američko-kineskih odnosa u benefitima ekonomske razmjene. Dodao je da bi obje strane trebale raditi na boljoj saradnji, te da će Kina dodatno otvoriti vrata američkim kompanijama. Za Peking najveći spor je u pitanju Tajvana, te su saopćili da bi loš pristup mogao izazvati sukobe u budućnosti.
安排在这里呢，实际上也是回报松东先生2017年在海湖庄园对我的款待。这个地方是过去的皇家园林的一部分，很有历史感。我跟总统先生走过来的时候啊，都是在那里停留了一下，那些树都是几百年的树，其中有一棵是490年，在这一片的皇宫区，大概都。
I want to thank you very much. This has been an incredible visit. I think a lot of good has come of it. We've made some fantastic trade deals, great for both countries. We did discuss Iran. We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. We want the straits open. We're closing it now. They closed it, and we closed it on top of them. But we want the straits open, and we want them to get it ended because it's a crazy thing. They're a little bit crazy, and it's no good. Can't have it. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
I want to tackle the most significant matters and takeaways from the Trump-Xi meetings in China. All right, we're going to Beijing, where I'm being joined by Shen Shiwei, founder of China Briefing newsletter and CGTN reporter. Shen, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me here.
That's good. Good to have you. All right. U.S. President Trump has left Beijing this Friday, where he visited for a high-stakes summit with Xi Jinping, the first U.S. presidential visit to China in nearly a decade. The leaders struck a positive tone, as we can say, on cooperation, while Chinese president issued a pointed warning on Taiwan. So let's unpack the outcomes, tensions, and implications of these meetings. So let's look at the overall assessment, Shen. What was the dominant tone and language, even the body language even, between Trump and Xi during the meetings and the public events? Did the summit feel like a genuine thaw or carefully managed theater, as we are already familiar with when it comes to biggest leaders in the world?
Of course, as you said, the summit between China's leader and the U.S. leader has been the global headlines for these days, and everybody is watching what is the latest development of this one of the most important bilateral ties in the world. Actually, regarding the atmosphere, I think in the public event and also the private conversations from the Great Hall of the People to the Temple of Heaven and also to Zhongnanhai on Friday, we can see the atmosphere is very good. And also we can see I would like to use two keywords. One is more constructive and the other one is more pragmatic. As we know, for this kind of summit, there are three major priorities on the table. First is about the economic and the trade ties. So that's why we have seen the U.S. President Donald Trump has led a huge delegation for business leaders, the CEOs. And so that's why we have seen both sides have reached kind of agreement to manage their economic and trade ties and also to tackle those kind of challenges. The second part, I think, right now is about how to maintain this kind of mechanism between the top leaders. We know the head of state diplomacy plays a very, very unique and important role in stabilizing one of the most important bilateral ties in today's world. So this summit here in Beijing is only a beginning. We know for this year, China and the US will host the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting in Shenzhen, and also the US will host the G20 Summit. So at least we will have another 3 summits between Xi and Trump in the coming months. So how to maintain this kind of personal ties between the top leaders and to maintain stability between the two superpowers, that is the key agenda in this summit. And the third one is, of course, about the Taiwan question. China has stated very clearly that this is regarding to the co-interest of the China's national interest. It is regarded about the national territorial integrity and the sovereignty. So the U.S. must handle that properly. Otherwise, that will bring the risks to the entire China and the U.S. relations. Even we will have the conflicts between the two superpowers. So that is the top priorities here discussed in Beijing. And I think for the atmosphere right now, it is very positive. It is very constructive. So that's why both leaders have agreed that China and the U.S. should have this kind of constructive strategic stability. That is a pretty new vision for the bilateral ties.
Absolutely. Last time we spoke, Shen, U.S. imposed newest tariffs on China. Was that even discussed with the two leaders, and how was that struck by the media? How was it seen by the media in China? Just taking in consideration that not so long ago we had this economic war between the two big powers.
I think right now, according to the results released from the Beijing side, actually, both sides have agreed on some parts that we have reached some kind of a substantial development and agreement to stabilize the economic and trade ties. As we know, prior the Xi and the Trump summit in Beijing, both economic team had their talks in Seoul, South Korea, and to have this kind of talks to stabilize the economic and trade ties. And I think in the coming days, both teams will all continue to talk about how to make a kind of a framework, like the kind of board of the investment to deal all these kind of challenges. We know during the past decades, China and U.S. economic ties have go through ups and downs, and the U.S. decision makers also realize that China is not a partner that could be kneel down under this kind of a bully or extreme pressure. So both sides need to have this kind of framework to talk. And I think if we have kind of institutionalized the mechanism to deal all these challenges, no matter about the market access or the sanctions or the tariffs or other barriers, we could have this kind of a mechanism to deal with and to destabilize this kind of economic ties.
Shen, you were mentioning even war in case that China's sovereignty is attacked. Now, Chinese president explicitly warned that poor handling of Taiwan could lead to clash or even extremely dangerous situation. Now, how seriously did the U.S. side take this, and did Trump offer, and his administration, of course, any reassurances? How is this matter being reported on in China by the Chinese media?
I think regarding the Taiwan question, both leaders have very frank and open discussion, and President Xi also stated that the sensitivity of the Taiwan question is related to the China's domestic affairs, and the U.S. must handle that very properly. Actually, what we have known that the Taiwan question, why we have that question, it was because of the U.S. intervention in China's civil war in 1940s, and the U.S. supplies weapons and funds to the KMT-led government, and they intervened the civil war, and the KMT party left, and they flee to the island, and then we have this kind of a question. So it is about the result of the Chinese Civil War, which was intervened by the U.S. So even today, the U.S. is still intervening this issue. So that is all the causes. So that's why China has repeatedly to tell the decision makers in the U.S. you must properly handle this question, and otherwise that will create a lot of problems, even bring the two countries into a conflict. So I think for the U.S. side, they have heard that loud and clear, and I think it is a time for them to properly handle this question. And I think in the coming days, we still need some more talks to find a solution between the two sides, and to how to manage this kind of issue, and to avoid the bilateral ties being dragged into this conflict by this kind of separatist forces on this island.
Which would be catastrophic. Beyond symbolic purchases, I want to go back to trade and economy. Now, beyond symbolic purchases of U.S. beef, agriculture, potential Boeing deals, what concrete progress was made on market access, especially for American companies, the big American tech, rare earth exports, and extending the current trade truce? Now, is the Board of Trade mechanism likely to deliver real enforcement?
Yeah, you mentioned the board of the investment council. That I think that is a very good initiative proposed during the China-U.S. economic and trade talks. And I think I remember it during their talks in Paris. Both sides have agreed to explore the possibility to have such kind of a mechanism to deal with all these issues. Actually, regarding the purchase of agricultural products and also other like Boeing and others, so we have seen on the Trump's CEO list, we have seen the CEO from Boeing and also other agricultural products, and also about the AI and the chips. And I think all those issues, China's stance is very clear. The market is quite open, but we need to have some kind of talks to reassure the mutual interests were well protected and respected. And regarding the market access, it is not one way if we go to the business issue. So it is more like a two-way. So the U.S. must not blacklist Chinese companies randomly, and sometimes they just use those like economic weapons, more like a bargaining chip. So both sides need to sit down and to find this kind of mechanism. And regarding the market access for the U.S. companies, I think right now the financial part would be one of the key issues. So that's why we have seen like the CEO of Visa is here in Beijing also. and to talk with the financial regulators here in Beijing. And also regarding the chips, we know the U.S. has imposed the chip war against Beijing, but on the other side, they brought companies like NVIDIA and other companies to talk about AI governance with China. So they need China to tackle those challenges brought by AI. And so we need more kind of a mechanism between China and the US to deal all these challenges,
Well,
to seek more cooperation.
I want to talk more about issues like AI cooperation, chip exports, like you're mentioning, tech competition addressed, especially with, like you said, the big CEOs like Musk, Cook, and Huang present there. How is that being brought together on this end of the week of the summit between the US delegation and Chinese delegation?
I think regarding the chips, what we have seen from some reports that the U.S. has approved that certain Chinese tech companies, they could purchase more advanced U.S. chips. But on the other side, for Chinese companies, they're aware this kind of ups and downs of the U.S. policies regarding about chips. They will also continue to develop their own chips. And just in case some emergency happens. So I think right now it is good both sides could reach some kind of agreement on this purchase of the chips. What we need to do right now is to build more confidence and to build more mechanism to talk about AI governance from the top level to the implementation level. So that's why I mentioned the head of the state diplomacy. It is really matter in today's China-U.S. relations, because sometimes the implementation level, they don't understand the direct implication from the top level. Sometimes they feel confused. So now we have the top leaders talk and they give the directions to the implementation level in different ministries and different sectors. So they could push some kind of agreements and to enhance this kind of AI governance. And as long as China and the US could stabilize their bilateral ties, I think many countries now, they will not be forced to pick sides right now.
And that's good. So far, so good. We are talking about this summit. So far, so good. Everything seems well. But I do want to talk about one of the things that were discussed as well. That's, of course, Iran and Middle East included. Both sides reportedly, Shen, agreed the Strait of Hormuz must stay open and Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. What specific Chinese leverage or actions were discussed to maybe help de-escalate the US-Israel-Iran conflict? And on top of that, of course, let's just clarify what the China's position is on the Iran war.
Actually, just a few minutes ago, I just saw this report that the U.S. has rejected the Iranians' proposal to end this conflict, and I think that is not a very, very good development right now. Actually, in China's talks with the U.S. here in Beijing, both sides have talked about the conflicts in Iran and, of course, about the opening of the Strait of Hormuz must be maintained. And on one side, China respects the Iranians' position that they will not develop nuclear weapons, but their legitimate use of peaceful use of nuclear energy shall be respected and protected. But right now, we know the chaos in this strait was not initiated or caused by China. It was because of the U.S. And the Israeli war against Tehran and during the peace talks. So now the key problem, key obstacles right now, it is about the lack of mutual trust between Washington, D.C., Tel Aviv, and Tehran. Tehran doesn't believe that the U.S. will honor their commitment because they just attack Iran when they have the
during the
peace talk, and
negotiations,
even
right?
during the negotiation, and even the Oman said, we have made a huge progress, but 2 days later, Iran got bombed. So that is the key problem. So China could be a bridge and to bring the both sides and to talk, and also China has supported Pakistan to mediate the relevant parties between Tehran, the U.S., and also the Gulf countries, and China is also supporting this issue. But we know that is a pretty hard task, and I think the U.S. also need to respect the international law. Otherwise, no one would feel safe in this region.
That's very well said. Did the Chinese president offer any concrete mediation role, just taking in consideration that we saw Pakistan offered that role, and it's not really working out, just like Geneva wasn't working out either. Are there any commitments also on oil flows and de-escalation? Or did China really largely defend its partnership with Tehran?
I think right now we need to have a clear picture that China has a partnership with Iran, that is for sure, and China also have a very strong strategic partners with Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, like UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, Oman. So China is a partner in this region. So that's why China's proposal is to have a shared security framework that all partners in this region, their legitimate security concern shall be protected and respected. Otherwise, you cannot have an enduring peace and stability in the region. This region has suffered too much from the Western divide and rule, and you cannot just support one side and blame all the problems to the other side. So that is not unfair. So right now, what China is doing is to call the immediately ceasefire between all the parties, and let's give peace talk a chance. And we need kind of a security guarantee, but right now I think that is not on the top priority. The top priority is to end this conflict and to give the peace talk a chance. And to rebuild this kind of confidence.
Right. Real, honest, fair peace talks that will actually bring leverage to the peace. Eventually, that's what the peace talks are. I want to go to Russia now, with Putin scheduled to visit Beijing shortly after President Trump departs. How did Chinese officials privately characterize their enduring strategic ties with Russia, especially with Vladimir Putin, during this very summit with Donald Trump?
Oh, that is a pretty good question. We know for May here in Beijing, it is quite busy for the diplomatic schedule. We know Russian President Putin will come, and Pakistan Prime Minister will come very shortly. And all these issues will see now Beijing is more like a diplomatic hub to bridge all these partners to push for peace, because now we have seen so many conflicts in today's world, and peace is so precious. Regarding about China-Russia ties, actually both sides have said we are not military alliance. We are comprehensive strategic partners, and the China-Russia ties will not target the third party. Of course, will also not be affected by the third party. So regarding China-Russia ties, I think it is in one of the best time right now, and with the coordination of both sides in terms of the energy cooperation, regarding the security cooperation, and also about the economic and trade, and also their coordination within the UN security framework. Both sides will continue to enhance their comprehensive strategic partnership. And this year it is very special because it is the 10th anniversary. It is the 20th anniversary of the treaty signed between China and Russia for their enduring peace and the friendship. So that is very, very special and very unique. Both sides will celebrate this kind of issue, this kind of event. And I think for the upcoming visit, that will also bring a lot of injective, very positive momentum to develop the bilateral ties, especially in terms of the energy part.
You seem more excited about the Putin visit than the Trump visit that just took place. And of course, from the U.S. perspective,
I think both are very positive because China-U.S. ties they are very important, and of course for China-Russia ties they are also very important. So now we are experiencing a very turbulent time in today's world, and we need more cooperation among the big powers and also the medium-sized powers, and also about other small countries' legitimate concerns shall be protected. So we need more coordinations between the leaders in today's world.
Geopolitics is a beautiful thing, but there's cooperation, where there's diplomacy, real diplomacy, and good negotiations in high stakes summits, and just like this one. And of course, from the U.S. perspective, Donald Trump will have to now sell these outcomes to his base, especially Vladimir Putin coming into China right after his departure, just ahead of the midterms in the United States. Now, from China's side, how is state media framing the summit for domestic audiences to kind of see what the overall outcome is of this summit?
Oh, well, I think after a decades of the relations between China and the U.S., we have been getting more calm and to see the ups and downs of the bilateral ties between China and the U.S. And for the media, for the observations, and for the analysis, I think, of course, China and the U.S. Relations is one of the most important bilateral ties in today's world. We need to kind of mechanism to stabilize the bilateral ties. So that is the consensus here in China. On the other side, we believe that the legitimate rights of China must be respected and protected. And so facing the U.S. bully and kind of tariff threats, we will fight back. And the U.S. Decision makers are well aware of that. And after this kind of 1 decade diplomatic and other approaches, the U.S. sides realize, okay, China is a strong partner, and the U.S. cannot achieve some goals without the collaboration with China. So at least we have this kind of consensus. So let's talk about how to manage our competition and to make the competition be more positive rather than negative, because the both sides have realized that a complete decoupling is impossible, and the cost is huge that no one can bear this kind of a burden, no matter from the political side or the economic side. So
and
that's why we have seen a lot of CEOs talking about this kind of cooperation.
Not just for China or for the United States, but for the whole world, especially Europe as well, taking in consideration the US and, of course, Chinese influence and economy that is visible in Europe. I have 2 more questions for you, then I'll let you go. Trump invited President Xi to the White House this September. What expectations are there for following through, and how might this summit, now this one in China, in Beijing, influence Trump's attendance at APEC, or other maybe forums, APEC, one of the most important forums that are coming up?
I think the 2 issues shall be focused. The one is about the communication mechanism between the top leaders. As I mentioned earlier, like the Beijing summit between Xi and Trump is just a beginning of this year's head of state diplomacy. And we will have state visits from Chinese side to the US, and we also have the 2 platforms that will have this kind of summits. One is APEC and the other is G20. So how to maintain this kind of mechanism between the top leaders? That is the key issue. And the second part is that we need to have more mechanism, especially in economic and trade ties, and also about the military ties. Because as long as we have a strong leadership guidance to navigate the relationship between the two big powers, we must have this kind of smooth communication between the economic and trade ties. That is one of the priority, and the other one is between the two militaries, to avoid miscalculation and to have more hotlines to just deal with. Because, like, for example, when the two navies meet or encounters in the sea, how to deal with those issues? We need more mechanism on these issues.
So there is no confusion whatsoever. I agree with you on that point, absolutely. Shen, you actually answered all my questions already. I just want to thank you for taking time to speak with me and going through this summit that really took place in Beijing, that was really, really the center and focus of international media as well. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Shen Shiwei, founder of China Briefing newsletter and CGTN reporter, joined me from Beijing, China. Stay with us. Britanski premijer Keir Starmer suočava se sa sve jačim pritiskom unutar laborističke stranke nakon katastrofalnih rezultata na lokalnim i regionalnim izborima. Dodatni udarac stigao je ostavkom ministra zdravstva Wesa Streetinga, koji se smatra mogućim kandidatom za preuzimanje stranke. Bivša zamjenica premijera poručila je da Starmer treba razmisliti o svojoj poziciji, dok se kao potencijalni rival spominje i Andy Burnham. Uprkos rastućem nezadovoljstvu i gubitku povjerenja, Starmer tvrdi da ne planira odstupiti i da ostaje na čelu britanske vlade.
Our parties both had tough results in the local elections last week. The difference is she hasn't noticed. And Mr. Speaker, there's another difference, Mr. Speaker. We are in government and they are no longer even the opposition.
A britanski kralj Charles III predstavio je program vlade za naredni period, dok se premijer Keir Starmer upravo bori za politički opstanak nakon pobune u laborističkoj stranci. U govoru iz parlamenta naglašeni su sigurnost, ratovi u Iranu, Ukrajini te borba protiv antisemitizma. Iako raste pritisak da odstupi, Starmer pokušava spasiti svoju poziciju nakon teških izbornih poraza.
My lords and members of the House of Commons, an increasingly dangerous and volatile world threatens the United Kingdom, with the conflict in the Middle East only the most recent example. Every element of the nation's energy, defense, and economic security will be tested. My government will respond to this world with strength and aim to create a country that is fair for all. My ministers will take decisions that protect the energy, defense, and economic security of the United Kingdom for the long term. They will defend the British values of decency, tolerance, and respect for difference under our common flag. And they will harness the potential of the pride felt across this country for its communities. My government will take urgent action to tackle anti-Semitism and ensure all communities feel safe. My ministers will introduce legislation to take advantage of new trading opportunities, including a bill to strengthen ties with the European Union. Legislation will be introduced to increase confidence in the security of the immigration and asylum systems. My government will improve critical infrastructure with legislation to clean up the water industry and establish Great British Railways.
Najmanje 100 osoba, uključujući 2 liječnika, ubijeno je u izraelskim napadima na Liban samo ove sedmice, javljaju to Ujedinjene nacije. Vlada Liban kaže da je Izrael namjerno ciljao medicinske radnike, te izraelske snage optužuju za kršenje međunarodnog prava i humanitarnih normi. Podsjećamo, prije 3 sedmice Izrael i Liban su pristali na primirje, no napadi na jugu Libana nikada nisu zaustavljeni, jer Tel Aviv tvrdi da su na meti pripadnici militantne grupe Hezbollah. Od početka marta u izraelskim napadima ubijeno je više od 2800 ljudi, dok je u sukobu raseljeno više od 1 milion Libanaca. Izraelski parlament usvojio je i zakon kojim se uvodi poseban tribunal za procesuiranje osoba, odnosno Palestinaca povezanih s napadima 7. oktobra 2023. godine uz mogućnost izricanja smrtne kazne i javnog emitovanja dijelova suđenja. Prema novom zakonu optuženima će suditi specijalni sud u Jeruzalemu, a procesi će obuhvatati optužbe za terorizam, ubistva i seksualno nasilje. Izraelske vlasti navode da će suđenje imati historijski značaj, a s druge strane, organizacije za ljudska prava i Ujedinjene nacije upozoravaju na moguće zloupotrebe, montirane procese, ali i rizik od iznuđenih priznanja. Savezni sud u Vašingtonu privremeno je blokirao sankcije administracije predsjednika Trampa protiv Franceske Albaneze, specijalne izvjestiteljice Ujedinjenih nacija za palestinska područja. Sudac Richard Leon ocijenio je da su sankcije vjerovatno prekršile njeno pravo na slobodu govora nakon kritika izraelskog rata u Gazi. Albaneza je zbog mjera ostala bez mogućnosti bankarskih transakcija i ulaska u Sjedinjene Američke Države. Sankcije 2025. uveo američki državni sekretar Marco Rubio nakon njenih poziva ICC-a na istrage ratnih zločina koji su počinjeni u Gazi. Papa Lav susreo se sa studentima iz Gaze tokom posjete Univerzitetu Sapienza Rima, upravo u Vatikanu i u Rimu. Mladi Palestinci stigli su ove sedmice u Italiju kako bi nastavili studije u okviru programa talijanske vlade katoličkih organizacija. Papa je u govoru kritikovao rast vojne potrošnje, poručio da obrazovanje i zdravstvo ne smiju biti žrtve sukoba i političkih interesa.
La vostra università si caratterizza come polo d'eccellenza in diverse discipline e al contempo per il suo impegno in favore del diritto allo studio, anche di chi ha minori disponibilità economiche, delle persone con disabilità, dei detenuti e di chi è fuggito da zone di guerra. Ad esempio, apprezzo molto che la Diocesi di Roma e la Sapienza abbiano firmato una convenzione per l'apertura di un corridoio umanitario universitario dalla striscia di Gaza.
I just have 2 younger sisters. They all rely on me. I'm the only hope that they have. They don't have anybody in Gaza, just them. Okay? So I hope if I could help them, I hope if somebody could help my mother, check on her health, see what we can do for her. And I was studying in Gaza. I was in senior year when the war started, so I couldn't really complete my senior year in a normal school in the war.
9 osoba, uključujući 2 policajca, ubijeno je, desetine ranjeno u eksploziji na pijaci u sjeverozapadnom Pakistanu. To je drugi smrtonosni napad u toj oblasti ove sedmice. Eksplozija bombe na bazaru na granici s Afganistanom prijeti ponovno da pokrene sukob između susjednih zemalja Pakistana i Afganistana, čije su se vojske žestoko sukobile početkom godine.
Pio sam čaj sa prijateljem blizu mjesta eksplozije. Pitao sam ga zašto je saobraćaj blokiran. Onda se dogodila eksplozija. Ostavio sam šoljicu čaja i otrčao do mjesta eksplozije i pomogao u spašavanju ranjenih.
I dalje bez pomaka u tenzijama na relaciji Sjedinjene Američke Države Iran. Američki predsjednik poručio je da prekid vatre s Iranom visi o tankoj niti nakon što je mirovni prijedlog iz Teherana nazvao neprihvatljivim. S druge strane, iz Ministarstva vanjskih poslova Irana tvrde da je Washington taj s nerazumnim zahtjevima, te da će bilo koji budući napadi na Iran, kako navode, ostaviti Sjedinjene Države potpuno iznenađene. Broj ubijenih u masovnom ruskom napadu dronovima i raketama na Kijev porastao je na 24 ove sedmice. Među ubijenima je i 3 djece, saopćile su to ukrajinske vlasti. Spasilačke ekipe još traže zarobljene pod ruševinama nakon što je u ruskom napadu sravnjen jedna cijela zgrada. Gradonačelnik Kijeva Vitalij Kličko proglasio je petak danom žalosti. Ukrajinski predsjednik Volodimir Zelenski izjavio je da je u napadu korišteno više od 1500 dronova i 56 raketa različitih tipova. Ruske snage napale su dronom i konvoj Ujedinjenih nacija koji je dostavljao humanitarnu pomoć u Herson. A 6 putnika s kruzera Hondiju stiglo je u Australiju, gdje ih očekuje najmanje 3 sedmice karantina nakon izbijanja hantavirusa na brodu. Australske vlasti najavile su jedan od najstrožijih karantinskih režima, a putnici će biti smješteni u centar u blizini Perta. Svi su prije dolaska testirani bili negativni na virus bez simptoma zaraze. Na kruzeru je potvrđeno 11 slučajeva hantavirusa, a 3 osobe su preminule. Brod se trenutno vraća prema Nizozemskoj radi dezinfekcije. I za kraj, svemirska letjelica Psyche spacecraft uspješno je prošla pored Marsa na udaljenosti od svega 4500 km, šaljući prema Zemlji spektakularne nove fotografije crvene planete. Kamere su zabilježile kratere, planinske lance i ledene polove Marsa iz dosad neviđene perspektive. Naučnici misije poručuju da ove slike predstavljaju važan korak ka konačnom cilju, a to je dolasku do misterioznog metalnog asteroida Psyche 2029. godine. Misija još jednom pokazuje koliko čovečanstvo pomjera granice istraživanja svemira i približava se tajnama sunčevog sistema. I toliko u Pulsu planete za ovu sedmicu. Ove i ostale vijesti možete i dalje potražiti na našem sajtu Newsmax Balkans.com. Mi se naravno vidimo naredne sedmice. Ne mijenjajte.